Okay, so we're all set. Here we go. So many things going on at once. Welcome to the stream. I'm clearly making a mess, but welcome aboard, everybody. I've got a thing up on the screen right now. This is what is going to be going on this afternoon at 5 o'clock. We'll talk about this in a couple of minutes, but let's get on to doing our old usual stuff that we do, and just making sure I got whatever I need to get off the screen. There we go. We're all set. It took a minute. It took us a minute. But here we are. Okay, so I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm looking forward to this, to being on a stream at 5 o'clock today with Marshall Lee. If you're unaware of Marshall's channel, please go check it out. I'll be given a link in a few moments on that screen, and then I'll have that link posted in on Instagram and Facebook and everything else in a few moments, that sort of jazz. But, Marcia's jumped in here. Hey, hello. Welcome aboard. What I was just doing, don't get away from that. Sorry, I'm arguing with Corbin. So what I was doing was a little bit of slap and dragon. And I threw some ink on a plastic sheet, and then I spritz at it with some water. And then you drag it across the sheet. And so we'll get into that in a second. And that's in preparation for today's one-page story, the surface I'm going to work on randomly. Okay, so today's story is the one that I drew yesterday. The original is up on Patreon. Where is it? There it is. The original is up on Patreon. Relatively next to nothing on as far as it goes for manipulating digitally. So it's pretty straight on when it comes to actually laying into Photoshop. All I really did was take out the gutters between the panels and, put the text on. So, but this was a fun page. The origin of this page was that somebody sent me a photo of themselves saying, check it out who I'm spending some time with. And I literally thought that they had met and were hanging out with Nicolas Cage. I'm a simple man. And so when the suggestion came through from Miriam that I pulled out of the book yesterday for the day we met, I just that photo randomly came to mind. So I did it. So that's the base of the story. And then I just took it farther and made it like this was some 1970s romantic graduate style love story where the two of them run off together into the sunset. And I don't really reveal that he's a mannequin, but I do really reveal that he's a mannequin between the fact that she met him at a museum of wax celebrities and she's carrying him the whole time and his foot falls off. Hopefully someone's going to pick up on that. Somebody might not, but you try for these things, right? I was really pushing the narrative elements through it too. So I force your eye to start at the top, go down, move up to the right, loop around, and come down to the bottom left corner in order to control the flow of where you're looking at the page. So we'll see how that goes. Slap and dragon, I've never actually tried it. It's, well, let's get into it. So let's jump to that. Unless there's anything else I need to, there's the original art. And I got Marsh here. This is the link for what we're going to be doing today at 5 o'clock. So hold on, let me get my face out of the road. Get your face out of the road, Runciman. What are you doing? There's the whole link. I'm so sorry for that. So anybody that's interested, check that out. Like I said, I'm not going to be sticking around by holding this up the whole time because I'm going to put it on social media. So let's just get rolling on to it. So overhead. Here we go. Where are we at? Yeah. So here is Slap and Dragon. I've taken a white sheet of paper. See how fast that came? And what I have is a sheet of plastic. Okay, something that I would use. I put some of my drawings on, and I overhead project them for larger canvases or surfaces to work on. So, yeah. over the years, they're slowly fading off. They were permanent marker. So what I did was I dropped some ink on this thing, and you can still see that there's some left on it. So we'll do it on a new piece of paper. Now, people are going to tell me I'm doing this wrong, because that always happens. That's okay. This is how I do it, and it works for me. So now I could probably put more ink here. But I also do this with watercolor, by the way. Oh, see that? So I'm already smushing it around. So you take it and then you drag it, and it gives you these sort of, takes all the ink from the polyethylene sheet and spreads it onto the surface. And what I like about this, look at this, taking the blue off too. I like that. Let's see if we can do some more of that. So I'm going to destabilize some more of the blue here. Not so much. I think it has to sit for a while. Anyways, okay, so what I like about this is that it modifies the surface in just enough of a little way to give it, it's marred the surface. And for me, one of the ways that I get through that challenge that a lot of people have about, well, I don't want to wreck the paper and I don't want to do it wrong. I screw the paper up to start with. And when you come at it from that plateau, you're not too worried about the rest of it after that. Because you've already got your mark making started. You've already got some modification of the surface itself. Another thing that I've done here on the screen numerous times before is just making some mess. Just in general. There's no rules. There's no right or wrong. What? Sorry, Corbin's yelling at me. Am I keeping you up? I bumped him while he was sleeping and he told me off. Cats, right? Okay, so little spatters on here, just modification of the surface without too much concern about what this really means as far as the finished image goes, because we're going to work directly on top of that. And Snap and Dragon is one of those fun little effects that you can do that immediately allows you to get into your surface. And let's try this out a little bit. Yes, I'm going to try it out. It's going to make a bigger mess. Okay. So there we go. So yeah, so it's just yet another one of those things, like the jelly plating that I've shown people, that I've learned about, and all the other things that I'm picking up as fast as I can from examples made by other people on other channels. And we'll get there. We will get there, folks. But in the meantime, I just keep on plugging away. Okay, so with this in mind, I don't know what you're doing, but you're in the way. Now I'm arguing with Corbin. So another thing that we can do, in the course of having a surface here that's got ink and watercolor on it already, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little bit of a mess out of the surface, just a little bit more. So I put some gesso on a brush, and I'm just going to smash that around on the surface. So this changes how pigment adheres to the surface now, depending on what we're using. Like, it depends on how some of these tools that we're going to make our marks with, like certain markers will adhere to surface in a different way now. Paint markers, not so much. They'll go on top of whatever, but pencil will be more difficult to make marks with. Right? Ink should go over top fine, but the more that we have... Hi, Janet. Sorry, I haven't paying enough attention to the chat. I apologize for that. So it's just white gesso. And we're just spreading it out. There's no heavy application here, but there's enough to put some down. That's it. And that forces me to have to work within the constraints of this surface. Hey, How you doing, Jim? Welcome aboard. Give me a second. This is the part that makes my wife laugh. Here comes the blow dryer. Do I have the blow dryer plugged in? I don't. Ridiculous. 1 second. Okay. All right, so that's relatively dried up. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just the blow dryer. Corbin was over here pissed off at me now. All right. Okay, so Janet says, ballpoint pens that work on any acrylic product is Bic or Biro in the UK. Yeah, Papermate can work on acrylic too. It really is just a case of application, right? Like if you're looking for intricate, delicate lines, once you gesso a surface, you're going to find that they're going to flatten out a little bit, and that the ink is going to move out at the. If you're looking at it in a really under a lens, whereas you could make a nice clear line of gathered ink particles on the surface with absorption into the paper, the surface itself, whatever it is. Once you've got that gesso, it disperses out at the bottom. So, White Gesso sounds like a Ween album. Hi, Miriam. I hope you like today's page. Hey, that's a nice new picture you got up there today. Okay, Marsh says, I'm blow drying my jelly plate at the same time. There you go. Don't blow dry it too much. Don't dry it out. Don't like keep the blow dryer on it. I know that some people heat theirs up in the microwave a little bit, but I because of all this, I look into stuff. I've also seen people talk about how their jelly plate will stop being as useful as it could be because it might be drying out. So anyhow, so we've got a pretty good level of dry, but we've made quite a mess of this piece of paper. I'll hold it up to the camera, but you can see all this fantastic fun that we've just put into that surface. Right? There's some ink, there's some watercolor, there's some white gesso, there's some pencil that's in there. So that's where we're starting from. Right, bud? Corbin agrees. I didn't do cat cam. Hold on. Let me get cat cam going. Thumbs up for Christopher. Thanks, Miriam. Hey, Aditi. You can use mineral oil on a jelly plate to condition and clean it. Nice. You can also use baby wipes. I've come to understand. All right, just because people like this, let's get. I'm leaning back, looking like I'm 1,000 pounds. Corbin, say hi to everybody. Can you say hi? Guess not. He's just busy looking cute. Anyways, cat cam. All right, so I've been checking the mail. We haven't got our mail yet today, Dee. I'm waiting for, so I might have to get up and run away really quickly, everybody. Just because the new banner, the new 6 foot, 7 foot banner, I can't remember what it was, that we've ordered for the convention this weekend is supposed to be here today. And Diddy sent a picture of this lunatic. That's you. She sent a drawing of Corbin that she did, and if you didn't get a chance, check it out. Baby wipe to clean, oil to condition the plate. Nice. Should I be doing that now? Hi, Stacy. Welcome aboard. Okay, so here's our modified surface now. It's dried out a little bit, so it's pretty good to work with. Of course, it's not perfectly smooth anymore. So I said I showed this to somebody once, and they said I did it wrong because now it's all shaped. It's going to happen. All right, let's get the book. Okay, so where are we now? So we just did The Day We Met suggested by Miriam. Thank you, Miriam. So we've got a few different things that we can do. We can do, Ann Lars suggested Frankenstein as a hairdresser. I should be looking at that one because we haven't done one, I don't think, for Ann yet. And we've got all kinds of the conspiracy ones out. And again, it usually stands. If anybody has suggestions, movie tale. If anybody has suggestions for one-page story ideas or just story ideas in general, story suggestions in general, just let me know. I'm down with your bad sound. I'm hip, Corbin, right? The pop in it. But today is 3 Prompt Tuesday. So we've got 2. I didn't realize I had one already. I've got Earth Plaid Paint Palette or Dejected Frog and Raccoon. Does anybody have any particular choice out of those 2 they'd rather see? Earth Plaid Paint Palette or Dejected Frog and Raccoon. Corbin was live streaming before you went live, Chris. Uh-oh. Is he doing that again? Kid's trouble. Oh, you colored it. Yeah, but it looks great, Dee. It looks fantastic. And he's really excited about it. We've already got a little frame for it. And we're going to put it up in Mom's office near where he always sleeps. Right? Yeah. I don't know if you can see this guy, but he thinks he's part of the show. No, he's lying at the table again. This cat. Anyways, okay, so if you use pencil, mica, graphite, or charcoal to transfer, then you need to clean it with oil. Oh, I see. Okay. I see. Okay, I'm never going to use those things up. Why is that, Christopher? I'm glad you asked. Because I don't want to clean it. Other than wash it each time. Conspiracy check-in. Okay. Chickens and cats, that's what it's all about. There we go. Okay, Janet's got the first voice through for Frog and Raccoon. Buddy, I gotta move this because you keep headbutting everything over here. So, all right, so Dejected Frog and Raccoon. What do you think of that, Cora? So there's our 3 for today. Let me check that out now. Did I move this? Yet. Bozo. All right. Stop. It's trying to fight with everything. This isn't a playful mood. Nothing wrong with that. Ration. Raccoon. Okay, excellent. Chickens and cats, that's what it's all about. There we go. Okay, everybody likes that raccoon. Raccoon, ration. There we go. Glad to make Corbin happy. There we go. My dogs don't agree much. Okay, so chickens and cats. Some believe that that's what it's all about. I'm pretty open to the whole thing. So when the oldest was little, I had rescued from a rather abusive, drunken neighbor. He had dog and raccoons that he was abusing. And so I just walked over and said, yeah, you can't have these. And we quickly found them a home. And his wife didn't want them either. You know, it was the best thing for them. But for a couple of weeks until we could get the last raccoon settled, we had a raccoon in our house named Cunella DeVille. And they are crazy. Yeah, they used to fight with this little dog that my ex-wife had. And it's fantastically fun. I was voted for the raccoon to win. Yeah, so raccoons are super fun animals. All right, so Dejected Frog and Raccoon, those are our 3 things for today. Let's just get cracking into it. And so I've got the little thumbnail thing over here. I pulled up an image of raccoon, and we'll just get cooking. Cooking with the gasoline. All right. And while we do this, Corbin is going to continue to headbutt me in the arm. just suddenly got really playful right before we started. I don't know why. I don't get it. Okay, so as usual, if anybody's got what I'm going to switch to. If anybody's got one-page ideas and suggestions, blah blah blah, you know what to do. Keep it a secret, lock it away in the vault, and don't tell anybody. And just to put it out there, just before I'm going to start getting cracking. Marsha's more of a dog person. Doesn't have either at the moment, just chickens. Well, see, chickens or cats. That's what it's all about. And you got conspiracy chickens. Conspiracy chicken. Okay, so just before I get cracking one last time, let me show you this. I'll be on Marsha's stream at 5 o'clock today. There's the link for it if you want to write it down. And we're going to talk about making comics and long comics and short comics. Doo-dah. Just I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it a lot. It's fun. It's something I've done both of, and it's fun. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so there's that link, and let's get cracking. Where are we at? There it is. Okay. Question of the day. He beat Jim to it. What is your worst injury? Yeah, that's a good one. Type 1 diabetes. Paul's pants. Putting away the jelly plate time to work on my zine since Janet's here. Oh, there you go, Marsh. There you go. Okay, let's get cracking. What is your worst injury is the question of the day from Paul, the man, the myth, the magic, the legend, Pete. So I'll be doing a piece soon of Paul. I haven't just sat down to it at this point, but we'll be doing a piece of where Paul keeps his change. It's a fun suggestion for the kids, Let's keep it clean in here, folks. But the best part of having a studio cat is the whole time I'm working, he's constantly smacking me. Constantly. Really helpful. It's very helpful for me. I am listening to the soundtrack of all the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies and extended playlists in relation to them. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Jenna says, get on it, Marsh. Can I put the link in the chat? Hey, let's find out if I can. Give me a second. Let's see if this works. Hey, I think it is it gonna go? Look at that! We did it. Thank you. I never thought I could do that before, so it didn't even come to my mind. But thank you very much for that, instigating that. I appreciate it. Wake up, Rudsman. Put it here. Okay, so I'm just gonna start the whole thing off with the raccoon, introducing him. And then we'll get on to his feelings of dejection. What would make a raccoon feel dejected by a frog? Maybe he's not allowed to be at the tadpole party. No, that could be it. And Butt over here thinks so. I think he just wants to be on the stream. It's just a troublemaker. What am I missing? My worst injury. Oh, the link works too. Woohoo! My worst injury was when Paul did the question of the day and injured my ego. I'm still recovered. And Miriam says it's weird. Okay, so we've got our the start of our sullen, hurt, wounded, dejected little raccoon here to start with. So the thing about the 3-prompt thing that I really like, and I would really highly advocate for others to do, has got to be the fact that there's absolutely zero structure to it. When you've got a suggestion, and yeah, again, I love working from suggestions from other people. It's not that I, a lot of the pages you know that I'm doing myself, but from my own idea, but from a suggestion, there's an underlying structure, whether it's conscious or not. It's in there, as in the just in a phrasing of a sentence, or just in a phrasing the structure of the idea itself. You automatically got some identifiable sort of starting structure. It's just how you perceive it, and then how you translate that to the page. So with a 3-prompt idea, like 3 words, you've got carte blanche to go about it in any random kind of way that you want to. Like we did, the one page was we had an emu with a space helmet. I can't remember what the rest of that was, but one of them was emu. Make sure you have live chat clicked for everybody. Oh, and like the vid. Thanks, gang. Paul says, Jim, I'm a terrible friend. Jim says, hey, here's a question of the day. What is your worst injury? Totally different question. Now we've got 2 questions to contend with. People, do your best. Don't pick and choose which one to answer. Just answer both of them. If you want to tie it up into one sentence and answer in that way, do that. Paul Pate's question was, what is your worst injury? And Jim Leon's question is, what is your worst injury? So have it that as you will. Don't want him to put his feelings to get hurt. Okay, so just putting in some of that form. Now, there's some fantastic artists, illustrators to check out online if you want to learn about, illustrating animals. And I mean, the predominant one that most people reference, and that is very proliferant, is Aaron Blaise, former Disney animator, and worked on The Lion King, I think, is his big project that he was part of. But he's very good, and he's very good at giving some reasoning about why he's making the decisions that he's making in his creative process. So I think that's a benefit for folks. So it's the only reason I reference him over anybody else. But it's just one of those things where you're going to see different interpretations, and there's a great deal of people that are going to emulate other people that are on there as well. But he's one of those guys that he's been doing that for X amount of time now. It's clearly from a place of knowledge and from a place of experience. So not half bad to learn from him. Okay, what am I? Miriam says, my belly has a big injury 5 times. I didn't cry. My sons and daughters did. It's because somebody hit them. Somebody smacked them. That's the there's a secret to that, it has nothing to do with helping the baby clear the air passage or anything like that, or just the sign of life or anything like that. It's because all of those doctors, those OBGYNs, they're all sadists. And the first thing they want to do when they see a baby is smack it. Pull it out of there and then smack it. That's the secret truth of everything. So I'm making some marks and throwing down some shapes, and I'll hold this up. So some of these textures and stuff like that are jumping through into the image. We're going to push it a little bit farther. Oh, tough cookie art, curious. Yeah. So we have 5 kids. Hi, Riri. We have 5 kids. And when people meet Lori and I together, and how many kids have you guys got? We say we have 5. And they look at her like, oh, you poor woman, every time. And then comes the dance of, well, it's like a marriage, and he had 3, and then I had 2, and we're like, oh, okay. Because their whole thing is, oh, you poor woman, immediately. What's that say about me? What are you complaining about now? All right, so I've got some watercolor going here in one of these, yep, brushes with the water built in. There's a name for it. I won't ever remember it. So I just loaded some up in here. And the wonderful thing about this is that when your brush, the bristles start drying up, you just squeeze the handle and it loads it again. What? Just lie down. Who wants to play? Who wants to do stuff? And we're going to throw some more of these marks up in here. Allow these little textures on the side of the brush to jump out. Because it doesn't really matter too much about how we're going about doing this. It's one of the things that I like doing so much is to put, positive and negative marks down and overlapping. So Miriam says, well, I have 5 kids of my own. And you had some help with that, though. That's wonderful, Miriam. I think the concern that people have for Lori is the fact that I'm 5'18" and she is 5'4", and they look at her like, oh my God. That's the first thought is horror. I don't know what that says about me. But that's the first thing is concern for her. So, okay, so we've got all these marks, these little gesticulative bits, watercolor in there. We've got pencil in there. We've got the ballpoint pen in there, right? And we've been building up our little guy. But now we're going to come in with this white pen marker, or white acrylic marker, I'm so sorry. And we're going to come in and throw some of this white back down in there. Start pulling some of that surface back out again. So that these marks that we made, these changes, these little complexities, I guess. I don't know what you want to call them, but we can go back over them again with this acrylic and pull out the character from the background again. And then at the same time, we get to put in this a little more emphasis on the front of his face. Get those whiskers in there. And I'm putting marks down. Sometimes they're just nice little dots. But it's the pulling back out again that lets us do those little emphasis points. I think that's the word I was looking for earlier. Man, I got up at 5. Lori was out last night at Mom and Dad's, and so the cats decided, hey, it's 5 a.m. You're getting up. Which was really nice of them. And then they all proceeded, the 2 of them proceeded to have naps. The monsters. Yeah. Marsh says 5'18". Guess Canada has a different measuring system, huh? No, I just like making people do math. That comes from when we started at this new church, or when I had started at this new church. I joined Lori's church there. The first person that came up and talked to me, a fella named Al, and really tall guy, And he comes up and says, "Hi, welcome to the church," and he says, "It's nice. You're almost my height. How tall are you?" And I told him my height. He said, "Oh, that's good. Well, I'm 5'20". It just made me laugh so much that I use that now. So we're starting to get some of those fun little textures into our guy. And then I'm going to come in with here. Corbin, where did you put the black Posca? Corbin. I know he had it. I don't know where I have it. This is another thing that makes my wife laugh, is the sound of me crashing through mark-making tools trying to find something. Doing that numerous times we've spent trying to organize me. Okay, so here's our little guy. And I think I'll put dots in the eyes. So, one of two things can happen at this point with this page. Either he is subjectively the narrator of the page, or he is, depending on what the voice is that we choose to work from. Now, if I choose that the structure of the page is from whatever, first person, second person, third person narration, I mean, I like the idea. Like the page that I did today was, that I posted today was about, somebody that went on a trip to Vegas and then she fell in love with somebody. And then I have a little something to say about love in general. But I like editorial narratives. I like the idea of, here's Bob Smith. Bob was a nice enough guy. And it just has the Bob going through his day. I used to love that notion as it was presented in old Looney Tunes cartoons and the like. And so this is the side of a black old pencil crayon. So we're coming back in here, which means I just went over the white, so I'm going to screw out that again for one quick sec. So we've continued that texture. Now we'll run this across, and we're going to put in what? Can't climb on top of me right now. And then we're going to put some of the wood texture through here. I also like the idea if we present this raccoon character and he starts narrating, the crazy incidents that happened to his cousin, and then we have to move to a separate raccoon character. Like this, why not? Who says we're right or wrong? There's no right or wrong in whatever story making decisions that we work with, as long as we lean into those. Right. Corbin has no idea why you guys are here, and I am not spending all of my attention on him. That's his big issue for today. Okay. I am at 1.61 and have only 2 feet, though. Corbin, such language. Hey, Jim heard that. I'm tired of the slow build up here. Let's get opaque. All right, so I'm going to go in and while we're here, And I'm just going to plunk in some more shapes in here. Just little. I always talk about the complexity in an image. So just give something. You can build up texture in a background if you just give something for people to look at. It doesn't have to be an exact replica of anything. But our human eye tries to pull out recognizable imagery out of things. So if you just add complexity into an image, the viewer is going to do with that whatever they will. If you just get some shapes that are emulating a street scene, you know that this is roughly the place where the box is for the pedestrian crosswalk symbols of go or don't go. It doesn't matter what specifically it is. It doesn't matter that it's perfectly rendered. It's the idea. Just tell as much as you need to in the story and get on with it. And the story here isn't about his background. The story here is, in his first panel, it's about this crazy cat and what he's got to say. All right. Okay, so there's our first panel. I'll hold that up in a sec. What do we got? So one of the things that we can do, and this is the sort of stuff, the decision making that comes along the way. When you look at, you've got your three words that you have to work from. So here's our raccoon speaking to the camera directly to start off with. Hopefully we've captured the idea that that's, piece of wood he's leaning on. And we've, got enough of it to look like a raccoon, of our marks to look like a raccoon, then we should be okay for that fun. But when you look over here at the 3 points that you're trying to work from, dejected, somebody's going to have to feel dejected. Beautiful thing about a raccoon's expression is he always looks like somebody's just hurt his feelings. Their faces are so expressive. So there's a good start for us, but now we've got this frog to consider. And because I just looked at the 3 word prompts for this, the first thing that came to mind is, well, why don't I do a frog in a similar way? Because then it can be he said, she said, where the first person is giving an account on a situation, and then the second person's perspective comes in, which is wonderfully different, And then when you consider things like that, and this is just trying to lay out where the train of thought goes for me sometimes. This is a scary thing. Watch out. When you think of he said, she said, the fact that this is a frog and a raccoon are secondary to our consideration if we're leaning into this he said, she said idea. So then it becomes, here's the raccoon's perspective, and if we do the frog now, they said what? I can't believe they said that. That's not what happened at all. So we can pursue that train of thought that's popped up in our head for the moment. Oh, there we go. Cute, Christopher. Oh, well, thank you. What do you think of the raccoon, guys? Anyways, thanks, Didi. So there our guy is now. We've added some nice contrast into him there with light and dark. We've got, we've pushed back the background and the foreground as being unimportant by just leaving them in sort of a gray area. We can do a little bit more once this white ink is all settled to put a couple more little marks in there to just frame that face a little bit better. But in the meantime, let's look at frogs, not toads, frogs. And so, I'm going to type this code. So, good enough. The whole idea of searching to, what did I do? I touched something. There's our guy. The first one was looking at the camera. Let's just do that one. So that's, I don't get too caught up in all of that, you know, and looking for the perfect image and looking for the perfect, oh, I want it to be like this. Just put it down and see what it gives you. So maybe white's not the answer here. We'll see. We'll see, Corbin. So this is a stamp. And I've just got this little white ink pad, and I'm just going over the area. I'm not concerned about this image. What this facilitates is modifying the surface to work on. Now I'm going to have to give that a second. But oh, I've got the hair dryer. Okay. So, but it gives us something to work on. Similar to how we built up some of the background here. This gives us a little something behind that. Excuse me a sec. It's fine. Relax. Corbin's like, what are you doing over there? See? Fine. Paper's okay. Are you worried about the paper? Okay, so I showed you the thumbnail. So we'll just get right into it. And so ideally, I want to keep them similar in size, right? Right, Chris. That sounds perfect. Thank you. I'm buzzing. Why am I buzzing? Okay. All right. So just putting down the frog as we've seen him in this image. Just there's no big structure to the story as yet, because I'm not. It comes as we go. The more that we try to have it all plotted out as we are working, that slows down the just putting it down. It slows down the whole process. If you just start trying to get right into the image making, and then you start to structure the story from that point out, it sort of unencumbers you from overly thinking about what it is that you're producing and being overly concerned about, well, what's the story, and then what's going to happen. And if you just trust in yourself to bend and weave with it as you go along, you know, you'll be surprised about what you're going to find in that. Right? It's sort of one of those things where just give over to the intuition that you have, that I know you have, and just allow that to show itself. See ya. Corbin's come to explore since I'm not giving enough attention. Busy over here talking to myself and things. So because I've got, I'll hold this up. So you can see the pencil sketch that's on top of this stamped image. And we're just going to work with it. We're just going to incorporate that into what we're doing. So I've got some calligraphy ink here. So I'm pulling out the frog. So Friday, I'm going to be doing a video on Friday, and instead of an entire stream, and then I'll do a video on Saturday and Sunday as well, or I might do. And we'll see what happens. But I got a bunch of stuff going on with getting ready for the convention this weekend, and having some fun, you know. Okay, so there's our guy. So I'll let people know what the schedule is going to be. But it's largely going to be a fun thing. Okay, so I'm coming at this guy differently than I did the last. I've got an alcohol marker here. Now, sometimes, depending on combination therein, you'll see some of the information come back out again, depending on the combination of elements that we put into it. Okay, so here's our frog coming in. Lid on it. Second. Back to our ballpoint. Am I missing anything? I'm sorry if I am. Froggy. Yeah. Do you ever feel the comics have a new meaning after you've already made it and look back at it later? There's always going to be things, and I appreciate that question, Mark. There's always going to be things that I'm doing that are going to resonate with me in a different way than whoever is the viewer of a story. Now, it's not like I'm always putting inside jokes that nobody's going to get. It's not that. It's that because of how our own lives affect us, and because of the associations that we have during the process of making something, how it resonates with me is always going to be different. And because of memory being what it is, that changes over time. We'll look back at something and see it as something different, or we'll look at it and go, oh yeah, that was a weird time there. One of the things with having the Substack page and posting a week's worth of images on it at a time is that it tends to make me reflect and look at the pieces and go, and be able to evaluate for a moment on whether I thought my intention was successful or not. And if I look at it now and realize, I think I thought I was doing A, but I was doing B. It came across as a different way than I might have intended. And so it's a good question, because everything subjectively changes, but whatever my intent is not going to be, for the most part, what the viewer gets out of it. Because you're automatically viewing it from your own association. And if you view it at a different time, if you open up a book of images that you've liked and had for some years, and you look at them today, from who you were when you were, say, 26 years old, your association of those images are going to change, and you might find that there's parts of it that you like more or less than you did before. It's the same when you're making stuff, and you're going to realize that, I thought I was telling a story about this, I was actually telling a story about something I'm processing. So I appreciate that. It's a fun question. I will often do pages where I'm saying something that I might not be cognizantly aware myself that I'm being subversive about. I've got something that's sitting on me that I'm in some degree of processing, and I'll incorporate an element of that into the conversation on the page. And you can usually see those in the more editorialized, or those more reflective pages that I do. You can see that there's stuff that I'm clearly trying to figure out. So this is pushing ink aggressively over top of the stamped area, and hopefully, let me hold it up. Hopefully you can see that that's pulled up all of this information and actually pulled the stamp information back up again. So, yeah. So as I put this ballpoint ink in here, that pulls that ink up. And that smudging effect actually pulls up it diffuses and pushes the area into a darker element. It actually pulls a lighter element up in the stamp. So again, fun little bits to make it something to look at. So here's our frog guy coming in. It's not easy being green. So I'm putting the mark right here, but then when I drag it, it pulls it higher. I'm complicated like that. Jim says, Marsh, I think projects are short time capsules. They sometimes inadvertently capture where your head is at when you create them. The whole tone reflects what headspace you're in at the time. Very true. And that subjectively changes with time. You might think that you're talking about this, but in truth, you might not be. Oh, on the surface level you are, but it might be in reflection later that you realize, I was really on about this other item of information. All right, let's get crazy with this again. Want to get nuts? It's a really important and valuable point, Jim. Thank you. You're back. Yeah? Important when you use a toothbrush in your toolkit that you never actually mistakenly use it as a proper toothbrush. I had a friend, and he couldn't find a toothbrush, and he had a date, and so he just used the toothbrush that he was using in the studio, and nearly made himself sick, and unable to go on his date because. Yeah. Miriam says, I found recently pics of antique one-page comics I did 32 years ago. I found them very actual. In fact, I'm extracting the info and redoing it. That's fantastic. It's there's always going to be a conceptual and visual elements that we're going to wrestle with. There's always going to be that, and it's good and it's healthy and it's important to just go back and re-explore those things at different times. Okay, so I'll hold them up. So here's our frog now. So we've got our raccoon and our frog. And so there's our first two. Now, so since we've started with our frog, I think that, that we can play with this a little bit further. We've got, on this page that I pulled up, it just has a bunch of little squares of frogs on it. I mean, here's the fun thing where you've got the one frog being stepped on his face by another one. If you look at that in the sense of, if our frog is, so we're talking about as a he said, she said. right? If he's interviewed, she's interviewed. So on, or she's interviewed, he said whatever. It doesn't matter. So if you've got somebody recounting the tale, but we can still continue to play on the fact that this is a frog in a frog pond. And while he's saying, well, listen, I'm an honorable man. And as he's saying something like, I'm an honorable frog, there can be another frog stepping on his face as it climbs over him, because that's what they'll do. But just the idea of having that as an interactive point just kind of makes it fun, So if we look at that little image and just incorporate that into our page, it just gives a fun little element to it, and it actually helps to set some of the tone. Because first we've got this outrage, and then we immediately go into something dumb. But just allow that little, something pops up like that. Just go with it. Go with it. It's not, the more time that we spend creatively second guessing the things that our intuition says, do that, right? The more time that we then spend subjectively reconsidering everything, get stuff done. And at the end of the day, we're trying to get stuff done. So we've got the second arm. I have this guy off panel because he could care less. It's just fun. It's just fun for its own sake, right? And put his toes coming through as he climbs over. So we've got our rough structure, and now we'll just pull him out of it. So we've done the white stamping here. Let's we've got our underlying structure. So I've got a black stamp pad, and I'll take the same stamp, and we'll just put some stamped information on this one too. Why not? I'm just going to try to clean this guy off quick. Right, Corbin? Did you know that I'm a cat? Good looking fella. I like it. All right. So there's our little frogs, right? And we've got it all structured in here. Let me get this out of there now. We don't need that anymore. All right, so let's get some definition on the fingers. And it's just pulling that out. Where did I put it from? Thanks, Gordon. Makes it feel like it's a part of things. So I don't know if you're able to see the hand start appearing there. Bring that arm in. If anybody else has any questions or thoughts along the way, please feel free to spit them out like hot fire. Got this under chin piece. Got this side arm. The whole folded over arm thing that you see amphibians do. Toads and frogs where they'll just have their hand down like this because there's no real bones there. So and there's that second foot. Okay, so I hope this is interesting to folks. I'm going to put my paper towel over there. That's all right. That's a good place for it. So now we're defining our toad a little more. And then here comes that anthropomorphism that happens when you use animals and subjectively make them human, right? Whether it's visually making them look like animal people or if it's giving them identifiable human behaviors or characteristics or associations. It's one reason the Disney things are as successful as they are is that the viewers tend to free associate with the conversational interaction of Bambi and Thumper and the like. So here we've got all that kind of more detail. But to have him, and we've left room for the conversation, right? Those little spaces that are up above, are really for dialogue, and that's why we're not so overly concerned about our back areas. So we've left all of the spacing through here for him to the him or her. Let's have the raccoon be a her and the frog be a him. So it lets our frog guy continue to give his perspective on things. Maybe the second frog. Now I'm not drawing full lines around the form. I'm just little emphasis points as I go. The eye will fill in the entirety of the form, but we don't have to draw the entirety of it. And then Benzoprine. I used it. This is why I end up holding 18 things in my hands and working because I'm supposed to all the time. Sorry, I got this guy. Okay, just make sure I'm not missing anything out of the chat. So here's our 2 frogs. Hold on, let me move that correctly. There we go. I'm so sorry. So there's our participant frog and just random second frog stepping over top of them. Now to really sell that this other animal is interrupting and stepping through the scene, we'll put a third image in where it's got the tail end of this frog as our frog is still trying to communicate. And then because of that, because you've got this engagement of multiple frogs, it might make you think of things like, well, this frog could talk about, family is really important to me. I'm going to sneeze. And we've exampled that in the image by having another frog right there immersed in the scene with him. So this is sort of subjectively fits the question that Marcia asked earlier, because allowing your openness or your receptiveness to those ideas as they come in while you're working enables you to, if you can bend and weave with those things and follow those inspirations, it'll push that story around in different ways that you might have initially conceived. That's half the work, It's that idea generation part of it. Well, if you're just open and receptive to it along the way in the process, it takes away half the work. Did you just have to get over your weird deep-seated paranoia about drawing frogs? All right. Yeah. Tips going on this guy. Well, he's done a good job while he's been with us. So I'm trying to get some of this color back into the back area here. All right, let's come together. Where are we at? 15. Let's put some emphasis points in here. It's playing on the reflective element of the surface, right? So it's hard glints. Hopefully it makes the viewer think it's reflection. All right. I don't know what this says about my headspace right now. If this is the tone of a piece reflects your headspace. Oh boy. Let's do. Just a little bit of shaping in there. All right, so there's our third panel. So, let me turn that. There we go. Okay, so this is, like I'm saying, it's already sort of establishing for us where we can pursue the narrative. And if it's a he said, she said, or she said, he said, the first guy, or the female raccoon, whatever it is, says, and we can play with that, when we're in the text process. You can make some balloons pink and some balloons blue. Now, okay, yeah, the gender spectrum, yeah. But it sells to a more broad amount of people if we allow ourselves to continue some conventions. So having the female character's balloons be pink, immediately society today will associate that as being the feminine, and having the male character, whether it's the frog or the raccoon, and their textual balloons as blue, then the societal association is generally that it's a boy. Do you know if you have an entire pond full of boy frogs, one of them will physically alter itself to become, or no, if you've got an entire pond full of females, one of them will physically alter itself to become the male in order to continue the species. That's a crazy thing about frogs. This sucker's crazy, man. They're crazy. All right. So we've already got established now 3 pieces to our continuing narration. Now, with the size and shape of the panels, I mean, I could do this as 12 small panels of an engaging conversation, but it still has to account for the ability to fit the balloons on that. And one of the things that we can do here is take this environment and stretch it up higher to just elevate the height of the panel so that you can have more space for that text. Same here. Same here. The only problem with here, it has to be above the eye, because you can't stretch the second frog's eye right up into the ceiling, right? So, okay, so now if we've got our first frog who's trying to speak and to engage with us, and we've got this one climbing over his face as he's talking. Okay, so give the transgender frog a green balloon. Okay, there you go. That works too. Why not? So if we have the back section of this frog and have him, like, his face, have his foot in our speaker frog's face. And just have him staying in a relatively same position. That's, why not? It just sort of continues the idea that it proceed like it continues the movement. Here he is by himself. We could even draw the second frog in the background coming up behind him, and then climbs over top of him as he's still talking. I mean, why not? There's nothing to say that we can't do that. I think that it's this sort of little silly things like that to keep it fun and keep it interesting. I have his hand moving forward. Pop those fingers out there. And we'll move his leg up. And that leg up top. So some of that information that we put down at the start now, you're starting to get all of those little bits of business in here. Maybe we don't need to do this much stuff in the background now because we've already got some. It's kind of fun. Okay. So we've got this stuff coming together now for our guy, our two guys. I just kind of like the idea of making it just as given that as this guy's trying to converse with whoever it is that he's narrating his perspective on, he has to contend with this nonsense. So we've got basic, it's just some basic ink down to bring up our little frog guys form. I put the black down first last time. Now I got to come in second with the black just to get that little contrast. But this is because the dialogue is still rolling through up above. You know, the two work in conjunction with one another. So just doing the emphasis points again, right? And we've got killer here. Do you even work? Okay. Gosh, that's nice. I might be working too quick and not giving enough time for the ink to settle down. There we go. Maybe I should have this leg. Yeah, probably. That makes more sense. All right. Am I missing anything? Nope, we're still doing okay. We had a lump check on this start. Now we're doing all right. I'm just going to raise his leg up. Makes him a little more frog-like. Okay, so, and we'll just put some emphasis points inside the hand and stretch forward because he's reacting to the other one climbing over top. And of course, we can carry that over. We can example that further in the dialogue. What am I missing here? Can you see close, please? Yeah, I'll bring it up. So we've got the raccoon recounting their side, and then the frog recounting their side. And just an unnecessary complication of having a second frog walk through that conversation. Just one of those, who am I really doing that for? Me. Just makes it interesting to work on it as you're doing it. But there's going to be somebody that just likes that additional little factor as you're supplying them images to look at. And you're like, oh, that's kind of a frog-like behavior. But then in the story-wise, you get to say, listen, my family is really important to me. And he's saying this as somebody stepping on his face and moving through the image. So that's kind of fun. You know, you can have further fun with that. It's a first date. All right, talking about kids? What? There's just so much you can do with stuff. Keep it fun. Keep it interesting. Even my cousin Fred. Yeah, right. That works too, doesn't it? You can just the cousin's right there in the scene. If that does an example, the whole family is very immersive to the one character. I don't know what would. Okay, so because of that gesso that went down earlier, we're getting some fun little shapes and patterns. I'll hold it up. Yeah. So you can see in the top of that fourth panel some of those fun little surfaces that are in there because there's gesso previously on the surface. You know, and so as you go over top of it with like a watercolor that needs to adhere to the surface of the paper, well, it's got that gesso interfering with that, so it does these peaks and valleys, and I like that. I like that. What are we at? We're at 130. Okay. I'm just gonna extend this down just a little bit farther. There we go. Just some more fun bits of information up there. All right, well, we got a good start. Okay. What time we got? Okay, so we're at an hour and a half. So just to reiterate, just to go back for a sec here. I have, I'll be on, no, that's not it. I will be on, there's the link. The link is in the chat here someplace. I can put it down again. There it is again for anybody that didn't get it the first time. But at 5 o'clock today on Marsh's stream, I will be joining him for a chat about storytelling and short storytelling, long form storytelling, and how to get across what it is that we're trying to do as storytellers in whatever amount of space that we've got, and how much that lets us explore or expand on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. If you're able to come out and join us, that'd be super fun. But that'll be at 5 o'clock today. We're at an hour and a half in now, and I got to get a couple things done between now and then. So I'm going to sign off for now for today. If you're interested in seeing what happens with this, it'll be posted on Instagram and Facebook tomorrow. The original art goes up on Patreon. And, we just keep on keeping on. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock and working on our next page. I think, I can't remember what it is, but I think that I'm going to do Ann Lars' suggestion tomorrow. I don't remember what it is. Honestly, I don't put any forethought, any pre-planning in any of the one-page pieces. I just start working as I go, and then we put together something and off and on to the next one. So this is number 253 of this year so far. So, we're having fun. We're keeping busy, but I got a couple of things I got to get done for my the other stuff that I do that I've been working on this morning. So I'm going to try to get that done between now and when I go to on the Marshall stream. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate the interaction. People are jumping in on the conversation and suggesting ideas. That's lots of fun. If you're working on stuff, let me know. If you've got stuff that you're engaging with others and are interested in sharing that around, please let us all know. We'll all do our best to come out and see that. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off. So thanks, everybody. 2 p.m. EST, 11 a.m. PST tomorrow. I hope to see you now. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye for now.